Hi friends, my name is Lenda. I'm an energy reader here on YouTube, and this video is about my spiritual awakening and my self-realization coming into consciousness and what I've become aware of since my spiritual journey. So I know there's some pitfalls, and if you're going through this journey, you may become aware of these pitfalls, maybe in a way that you weren't expecting, or you could now be prepared to understand these spiritual pitfalls, as I call them, based on maybe my experience. Take them as you will. Again, spiritual ascension, spiritual awakening, we all experience it in a different way. So what I experience may not be what you've gone through or what you will go through, or can even resonate on a level of understanding. But I know that this is something that potentially other people might be going through at the same time, or at least they can avoid some of this mentality. So I'm not a spiritual guru by any means. Now, I have tapped into spirit from an early age, and I think we all have the ability to tap into spirit, but I feel as though our mind and what we've built for ourselves in this 3D world makes us perceive that we are disconnected from others and disconnected from spirit. So pitfall number one is we build an identity, aka an ego, based on what we've attained, what we were fed to be true, and our conditions of the past. And of course our mind makes up these stories to support that ego, that self, that identification, because without that, then who are you? And I think the spiritual journey is really about, getting closer to being, getting closer to who you truly are. And I think it's easy for somebody who hasn't really gone through a deep ascension or a spiritual awakening physically per se to think of finding their authentic self as a way to be genuine to the beliefs and the values and the information of their environment throughout their past. So I think that's another pitfall, because all of that really is an illusion. It's really supporting our ego. It's really built upon us being honest with being genuine and truthful about what we're thinking and how that makes us feel. But thoughts and feelings in that sort of way, or feelings that are triggered by thought, is removed from your true authentic self. Your true authentic self does not come from feeling, does not come from a feeling that's stemming from a thought. True self is a knowing, and it's a different feeling. There is no point in time in which you started to believe it. It's just always been, because you have always been. It's a being that when you feel it, you understand that it has always been, and that's the authentic self that we are being called to remember. And during the spiritual awakening pitfalls, you may get pulled into the trap of following all these spiritual teachings. And let's take the law of attraction for example. We're taught to put our intentions out there with affirmations and with belief and with feeling. And which is great, because it teaches us that we are the manifestors of what we're putting out into the universe. But it's still a belief that you're chasing something, that you need something that's not found within yourself. And manifesting wealth and people and situations and stuff, and you constantly are chasing this, not you specifically. I would hope you're not chasing anything, but a mindset that you aren't good enough as you are. And so there's this, you got to set your intentions, and you got to set your affirmations and believe in something outside of yourself. But whatever it is that you seek is within. How you are already, it already exists. And when you are truly able to detach from your thoughts, easier said than done. It takes a lot of practice and it might come in glimpses, but when you can recognize and witness yourself thinking, then you know you're in the present. So the challenge is to be present, to experience what's going on around you in the present time, in the now, in order to get closer to your authentic self. Because whatever's happened in the past should not impact what's happening now. And if you find yourself in a state of lack or in a negative place where there's sadness or there's a feeling of bitterness, then your mind is most likely in thoughts of the past, because what's so bad in this present future that is making you feel, or in this present time, that's making you feel the sadness? Your thought is stuck on a past memory, a past experience, in which you have to actively make a decision to let go of the feeling you have attached to that thought and let go of that thought ultimately altogether. Now, the future is a place that most people also want to attain, and maybe they're not stuck in the past. But in my case, another pitfall was who I wanted to become in the future, or who I thought I was authentically supposed to be. So I was trying to strive and attain to be that because it felt like my natural self, or who I was supposed to be because it felt like that is what I wanted and that is who I was supposed to become. But I was not in the present moment, in the now, being who I wanted to become. So if you're anxious, if you're feeling like you're chasing time, if you're feeling like one day in the future that place is more precious than the moment you're living currently right now in front of you, then you're also not aligned with your authentic self, because you're trying to attain something that doesn't really exist. You're painting a picture that will forever be better at some point in time that you may or may not ever reach. So being present, allowing yourself to have whatever feeling you feel in the moment that isn't attached to any thought that you've carried from the past, that isn't attached to a thought of something you want to be in the future, but it is a feeling that's stemming from really paying attention to the present moment. Like, I'm presently here with you, sharing this information and aware that I am conscious of what it is that I'm saying and what it is that's around me. And it brings me a sense of joy. It brings me a sense of peace. It brings me closer to knowing that this is my true authentic self, that I'm not striving to be someone I'm not. And you can breathe a sigh of relief because you're not trying to play catch up. And that's a pitfall. You know, the pitfalls that one might have in trying to attain something outside of self is the biggest one. And even in the spiritual community, you know, we hear this, and it's troublesome in a way because, you know, and I guess we're all at different levels. So to explain to someone who hasn't really reached the peak of consciousness, to explain to them that their mind is like a disease and it puts them in a state of unconsciousness, they don't understand that. They think they're present. They think they're conscious. They're thinking with their thoughts. But your thought is taking you to another place, not the here and now. So how can you be present? How can you be conscious? And like I said, it might come in glimpses and it might be difficult, especially if your brain is on a constant, you know, coming up with thoughts and you're replaying things in your mind. Maybe you're envisioning things of the future, which again was my case. I wasn't going to let the past experience hold me back, and I was able to release a lot of my past situations that might have not have been ideal, and I accepted them on the fundamental level that I was going to be better. I was going to allow myself to be different than what it was that I was coming from, but I wasn't allowing myself to be that in the present moment. So I know you're probably asking, like, well, don't you need experience, or don't you need to know how to do what it is that you envision in your mind for yourself in the future? And the answer is, you already have within you your greatest potential. So if you're striving for something that you want to attain, you know you could attain it, right? Because you're not going to try to attain something that's like you believe to be impossible, like I'm going to fly to Jupiter because I'm going to grow these wings. I mean, you can believe it, and it may be true in a reality that you create, and if you do, that's fine. But what I'm trying to get at is, whatever you set is within your parameter of what you believe to be true. And again, we don't put limits on it. So if you want to believe that statement to be true, that's ultimately the pure state of, I think, where everyone would want to be, because it doesn't keep them back from anything, and that's probably ideal. Now, we don't want to be delusional, but again, what is holding us back is our own limitations of what we believe to be true. Now, back to that statement, we put out certain ways that we think we might achieve certain beliefs, certain whatever we want to strive to, and we put it out there with a hope, but also some sort of a belief that we can attain it. So if you're putting it out there because you already believe you can at some point, then know that it is already within you. So there is no need to strive to understand it. You already understand it. There is no need to spend years, days, months, weeks figuring out how to do it. You already know how to do it. The key is starting to do it today, starting to be that in which you are wanting to be today. So yeah, I find a lot of people are stuck in the past, and I find a lot of people who are materially successful are stuck in the future. And the people who are hanging on to pains from the past, I feel it prevents them from, this is just my observation, but prevents them from achieving some sort of success here in the 3D world. But none of that matters, because in either scenario, you're stuck in a place that isn't your true authentic self. And yes, so maybe you attain a whole bunch of stuff if you're living in the future or trying to attain a version of yourself that you'll constantly be chasing. If you're stuck in the past and you're stuck in pain, you're stuck in replaying painful situations in which you feel prisoner to, that you might use as a crutch, or you might use as an excuse to be able to move forward and attain something for yourself. But what we should be striving for attaining, if you're really into spirituality and the truth of who you are, is to be your authentic self. Remember who you are previous to indoctrination, previous to being conditioned and programmed to believe things that this world has made us believe, and abandoning all of that to be in the present moment of consciousness, of being, and being aware that everything that you want is only really attainable in the here and now. You can't go back and attain it, and you can't go forward to attain it. You can attain it in this very moment, and that brings you closer to self. And it also brings you a sense of peace, because you're no longer feeling anxiety of having to play catch up and maybe not reaching it one day. And it's kind of like the carrot that just keeps on moving, the goalpost keeps on moving. You never really reach it until one day you realize you have everything you aimed out to get, and there's still an unhappiness, or you're still unfulfilled in some way. And for those of you guys maybe stuck on a past trauma or a situation in which we've been held back by, it may feel like it makes things easier, and then we feel like, okay, we're conscious because we're aware we're doing it to ourselves. And some of us, it might be in our subconscious where we're not fully aware. But for those of you guys who become aware of it and continue to do it because it is habitual, then you're like, I am conscious, I am aware, I am authentic, and I can make the active choice to stop. But that again is falling into thought pattern and feeling, because none of that matters. What matters is the current moment, and there is no need to bring up past situations and past pains. And yes, we learn from the past, but what we're supposed to do right now in the moment is whatever our authentic being is wanting us to feel in the moment when we're present. There isn't a disconnect because it's coming from ourself. It doesn't feel off. It feels like it's stemming from the truest place. There's no rush. There's no time. There's no trap. So anyway, I hope this helped. What do you guys think about, the spiritual community, your journey, about thoughts, about being in the present moment? Are you guys getting lost in thoughts? Are you held back by the past? Is the future something that you want to attain? Having goals is certainly important. But when we shift into having goals that are stemming from a place that isn't our authentic self, then we never reach that place and we forget who we are. But everything we ever wanted to be already exists from within. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.